Good evening and welcome. Tonight we will be going over the history and geography of Chhattisgargh in India. So you can see we are in central India, and this area is very well known for its plateaus and plains. The peninsular part of India is surrounded by the Ghats, these mountainous areas here, which leads to a nice valley area here, the Deccan Plateau. Chhattisgarh is no exception, especially up here is very much flat, right? It's known as the Chhattisgarh Plain. It gets a bit hilly in other areas, and there's a mountainy area over here known as the Naxal Range, right on the border with Maharashtra and Madhya Pradesh, which we'll talk about in its history. Very important to its history. There are many rivers that flow through here. The most important is probably the Mahanadi, which flows right past there. And the capital city is smack dab in the middle of the state, Raipur, which we'll talk a little bit about it being the capital because it may not be in the future. Actually, they're planning on it not being in the future, but we'll talk about that in history. Speaking of history, a lot of the sources that I found were not in English. They were either in Hindi or Chhattisgarhi. So I'm not positive about certain aspects of history. I mean, you never know if it's mistranslated or something, So I'm going to do my best with what I could find with the history here. There were a few historic regions in Chhattisgarh. From what I understand, most of this upper middle part of the state was known as South Kosal or Dakshina Kosala. And this area down here, which it's still known as a district within the state, is Bastar. You can see Bastars right there. Jagdalpur being the largest city. It does get pretty mountainy down here too. There's a big national park down here. Lots of really creepy caves down here. Some not so creepy caves up here though. There's lots of ancient caves with old Sanskrit inscriptions that we'll look at on Google Earth. Look at those. They're pretty neat. Sanskrit poetry written on the cave walls. How cool is that? But this area was very famously conquered by the Maurya Empire during its height, which would eventually lead into the Gupta Empire. There were a lot of empires and kingdoms and dynasties that controlled parts or sometimes all of what's today Chhattisgarh. A lot of them. It seems like this area was divided up bit by bit between various princely states, kingdoms, things like that. There were a lot. There are far too many to mention, so I'm just going to mention the highlights to you. In the year 750, the Hayhana dynasty took over, I'm pretty sure, most of what's today Chhattisgarh state. And from what I can understand, again, if you're Indian or Chhattisgarhi or just have knowledge of this area, let me know if I'm incorrect, because again, my sources, most of them were not in English. From what I understand, it was that dynasty that really began the culture and traditions of what we can find throughout Chhattisgarh. There are many traditional dances, food, songs, what have you, here in the state. And I believe it started with that dynasty. But there are many others to mention. The Rantapur dynasty founded the capital city of Raipur. Hold on, there's a fire truck outside. 1 second. Okay, I think it's gone. I'm filming in the daytime again, so lots of extra sounds in the background. Yes, the Rantapur dynasty founded the city of Raipur. Other very important kingdoms, dynasties, what have you in this area would be the Sarapuryas, the Pandavashni, the Samvashni, the Nagvanshi, the Kalchuri, which I will show you down, actually up here. I'm thinking down here, no, up here near Bilaspur. There's some towns there with some really, really cool Kalchuri architecture. We'll take a look at those on Google Earth. And it would be the Marathas who reigned, from what I could tell, the longest and were mainly in control of this area when the British arrived and began to control India. The two would fight wars. The British would inevitably win. Slowly but surely, the British would take over bit by bit each little princely state here until they controlled the entire area by 1845, and would until the independence of India in 1947. A couple of very important things to mention in history, and I'm just going to cherry pick. I won't go in exact chronological order, but we'll start in the 1960s over in West Bengal, which is right over here. A movement began that wound up sweeping through this part of India called the Red Belt over time. And that movement was called the Naxal movement, which was a Maoist communist movement. It became really tumultuous by the 2000s, where they were, blowing things up on purpose, attacking people on purpose, things like that. It got pretty bad in Chhattisgargh state. There were whole villages that were taken over by these people. It became a huge problem, but pretty much since Modi took control of India, they've been whittling down on it. They started cracking down really hard in the early 2020s. And literally 3 weeks after I'm filming this, they made a huge announcement that the Naxal movement is over. In March 2026, I'm filming this in April 2026. They said that everyone involved had either been taken out, or they surrendered, or they were captured. I think they said there were like 2, again, it was not in English. There were 2 people that they hadn't caught, but they're presumed no longer with us. So they said it's over. They got him. It's done. Who knows if that's true, but interesting, isn't it? I was researching this, and then I came across that one like, wait, what? They said it's done, like as of a few weeks ago. Like, that's wild to me. But yeah, it was particularly bad in Chhattisgargh area, in like the more rural parts of the state. Something a bit more peaceful, though. Chhattisgarh did not exist when India became independent in 1947. This was part of Madhya Pradesh state. The people here, though, like I said, they have their own distinct culture, language, what have you. They wanted to be separate, and the movement became pretty popular by the 1990s. They held a vote. It was agreed they'd become independent, and Chhattisgarh state was established on November 1st, 2000. Notable in that there was no violence involved whatsoever in the creation of this state, which you can't say for a lot of places in India. But that was like mentioned in everything I read about it, was that it was completely nonviolent, done entirely through the democratic process, through voting and protesting and all of that. Chhattisgarh was founded. It's only a 26-year-old state. During that year, I guess someone decided that Raipur would not be a sufficient capital city, and they decided to build a new capital city just over here called Nava Raipur. They're still building it today. We'll look at it on Google Earth. It looks pretty, at least the administrative buildings look pretty done, and they're gorgeous, of course, like any planned city. It looks like they're doing what they did up in Chandigarh, which we just talked about a few weeks ago, where it's going to be a city in districts, like little blocks, If it worked up there, it can work down here, I suppose. So that'll be something to keep an eye on, won't it? Unfortunately, whenever I tried to research any more about this state, I would receive something that happened very recently. I think it happened like the day of when I started researching this state. Was in, let me find it, it's really tiny, Sakti right here. There was a power plant explosion. Last I checked, 20 people have lost their lives, many more are injured. They're dealing with that as I film, as you watch this probably, unless you're watching this in the future and it's been resolved. But pretty much any time I typed in Chhattisgargh, that popped up. And it's very sad, isn't it? It's terrible that when I'm ready to research this, a very terrible event happens. I'm really hoping that all is well there and in the state as well. But that is all the history that I could find about Chhattisgargh. I have this feeling that I'm forgetting stuff because, like, a lot of things I found were in very broken English or not in English at all. So if I left out anything huge, let me know, okay? let me know in the comments, and if it's really good, I'll pin it to the top so that people can read it easier. Because yeah, I feel like, I don't know, there's so much wonderful history in India. I just feel like I left out gaps of things, but I couldn't. I really tried. I really did. So let me know. Anyway, I will stop yapping. We have a lot to look at on Google Earth here. There are a lot of national parks, a lot of reserves, a lot of waterfalls, and the temples we're going to see. We have a lot to look at. So let me grab my tablet and we'll explore Chhattisgargh on Google Earth. Let's go. Here we are in Chhattisgargh. Let's start by zooming out so you could see exactly where we are in the world. I feel like India is one of those countries that everyone can find on a map. It's very distinct and very large. But if you don't know, here it is. It's part of this big peninsular area, which is part of the Indian subcontinent. All of this area here was once one big island that floated up, crashing into this landmass, creating the Himalayas up here, which are still growing. India's still crashing in. Isn't that weird? And Chhattisgarh's right here in the middle. You can really see like the big plains areas here. Like, look how distinct it is here. And a bit up here too, all of the plateau areas down here. And you can see all the mountainy areas along here. And the cats down here, but that's not in our state tonight. Not tonight. Okay, where do we start? I'm going to show you the caves I mentioned before I forget, because I feel like I will forget them because I had to type them in to find them because I couldn't find them naturally. So they're up here. So these are very old cave inscriptions, cave art, what have you. Pre-Mauryan from the Vedic period. Very early India. That'd be like saying like the Druid era in Britain or something like that. Very old-timey. I hope we can see the inside of the caves here. There we go. Very old inscriptions, and they are poems. Isn't that something? That's pretty amazing. You know, you think of cave art and you think it's pictures of animals or people or whatever. Here they're writing out poems. Oh, a cool statue there. How amazing is that? So it's the Sita, Bengra, and Jogamara caves. Let's see if these pictures are any better. Not really. There's more inscriptions there. We already saw that. Pretty amazing, isn't it? See a rock carving there. How beautiful. Pretty amazing. Other than that, let's look at some of the nature around here. Because we have this beautiful hill range and a tiger reserve. Look how gorgeous this landscape is. How beautiful. Old temples here as well. Beautiful forests. That looks really gorgeous. This seems like a good place to hike. Little monkeys. Little monkeys might be a problem. They look like a gang. They look like they'd creep up on you. Look at their long, long tails. My goodness, those are long, long tails. More caves, misty, foggy, waterfalls. We're going to see a really cool waterfall in the south. Actually, a couple. Beautiful peacock. Wow, that's a whole waterfall. Can you see? How pretty. But this area is very famous for its tiger reserve, which I don't think this slideshow has any tigers in it, which is a tragedy. You'd expect. But we can see some of the landscape that these tigers get to live in and be protected in. There's some buffalo. I think they're called guars. Guars. Stupas there. Hindu temples as well. More little monkey friends. Little macaques. Beautiful forests and lakes. Look how pretty that is. Look at that reflection. Crystal clear. It is very nice here, and I'm glad that tigers can be protected here. Looks like there's been some flooding or fire or something here. To those trees at least. Big rushing rivers. And beautiful waterfalls. There's waterfalls all throughout this state. They're pretty amazing. Really good ones. Alright, I also promised you down here near Bilaspur. Is there anything in Bilaspur I needed to show you? Don't think so. It's a nice little city. There's lots of neat little temples here as well. But I think the real star was down here. If not, Melhar. We have some gorgeous old temples. Look at these. Of course, all in ruin today. But still beautiful Hindu temples. See some stones that they found and collected. Looks like a sacred cow there. Isn't that sweet? Very serene. Amazing statues. So that one's all decorated for a holiday. Maybe holy. Snake on this one. Cobra. Pretty amazing. And these little like figurines, I've seen a lot of those in temples around here, which I haven't really noticed in other temples around India. These little like dolls I've seen in a lot of temples here, so I assume that's a thing here in this part of India. I haven't ever seen that before. It's another temple with some offerings there, some flowers, another little entity. I assume it's a god of some kind. Yeah, see, it's like a little icon or something. Little, maybe that's a peacock too. It looks like some kind of bird. Pretty neat. And then there is the fort over here, which it's not popping up. Can you see it right here? It'd be cool if it popped up. That would be nice. But it's not, so I guess we're just not gonna look at these ruins. But the slideshow for this town has some stunning pictures. Look at these. Oh, wow. Just like, look at these cool kids here. Just imagine like having this in your town. Like you just live in a tiny town and this is just the thing that's there. These old temples from like the 1300s, 1400s. I really can't look at the fort here. We can't look at the, there's excavation site. Well, here it is. It's pretty neat, but I think these temples are cooler, actually. Let's head down to Raipur. The capital city. I hope things are gonna... Is my everything on? No, that's why. Ugh. 1 second. Let's go look at the fort. My everything filter wasn't on. I want to show you the fort. It was really cool. There we go. My everything filter wasn't on. Look at this. Isn't that neat? There's more of these little... Looks like a Buddha right there. The little cow. I love the little cow. But yeah, that was the fort. Okay, back to Raipur. I'm trying to think, what what was I going to show you down here? I did want to point out all of the lakes in this city. So many lakes all over the place here. Some of them have pretty temples alongside them. But I can't remember what I wanted to show you here. Maybe it'll come to me. There's a lot of things I need to show you. Maybe I'm just thinking of Nava Raipur, because I do need to show you that. There's this temple here. It's pretty cool. Yeah, from what I read, they have some pretty unique temples in the Raipur area and in Chhattisgargh state itself. Like temples that, like, I'm not familiar with the deities, but there's like one that it was like the only temple in all of India to this deity. I can't remember what, and I think it was in the south. But there's some like rare pulls in terms of, what is that? In terms of temples and deities here. I guess that's Swami Vivekananda. That makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? But yeah, as always, I'd highly encourage you to explore these areas on your own. There's a museum here. Oh, that's right, this Memorial Museum. It does have lots of cool, there's Ganesha. My favorite one. I know that one. Beautiful, beautiful. Wow. I assume that's a dance because there's a drummer. A cool stick dance. Oh, you know what I didn't mention was all the various indigenous groups that live in this state. Got the hand axes there. Paleolithic culture. It's something that, I don't know, has never really occurred to me in Indian history, are the indigenous peoples who have actually kept their ways of life that were never influenced by other Indian powers. And there's quite a few of them. They make human pyramids too. That's pretty neat, like in Spain. They have, also their own dances, their own customs, their own foods and such. And you can find them mainly in the south here, down in these areas down here. Let's look at Nava Raipur, or at least what it is so far. So we have this gorgeous round area where you can see there's the main government building. We've got the bus stand, very important. All the government buildings there and beautiful gardens all around. Looks like, what is that? I was going to say parking lots. I think they're solar panels. Yep, those are solar panels. And on the roof of that building too. On this bank building. That's pretty great. And yeah, they've got a lot of stuff happening here. Lots of homes coming up and more to go. See, this is Sector 17. So they're pulling a Chandigarh where there's different sectors, right? One whole block of area. It looks like there's going to be more. Sector 10 is going to be over here. So this has been being built for the past 20-ish years. Who knows when it'll be done? But they're definitely working hard on it. They've got their cinema there, very important in India. Beautiful lake here as well. They've got a lot going on. And yeah, all of the sectors. Very cool. To keep an eye on that and watch it grow over time, because it looks like they're really working on it. Let's head down. We're out of bounds. I went too far. Let me pull the border back up 1 second. Yep, we were about to wander out of bounds. I'm trying to find... Am I turned around? Oh, there we go. Needed to go more in the south. So yeah, in this more foresty area, we can find indigenous cultures. Here's Jagdalpur, but it's over here in this river where we can find some beautiful waterfalls. This one being the most famous. Chitrakoot waterfall. Look at this. It's like Niagara Falls, right? It is beautiful, and there's all kinds of waterfalls in this area. It's pretty. Oh, must feel nice. Yeah. Beautiful big waterfall off of this cliff, creating all kinds of rapids and such. It is the big draw in this area. You can see all the different little tourist places around, the little resorts, and they were popping up when I was researching, but waterfalls all over the place here along this river. Another pretty one I found. I don't think it was that one. Was it that one? Oh, there's the caves. 1 second to look at the caves. It wasn't that one then. It was near the city. Over here. Oops, 1 second, I left the furnace. Alright, while my furnace was running, gosh, it's that time of year where sometimes you need the furnace because it's raining, but it's springtime, and so it's not really cold. Whatever, I turned it off. I found the waterfall I was talking about, but also while it was running, I went and checked up stock footage of this area and found the big waterfall I just showed you. So that is the one in the intro. But yeah, this is the waterfall that I really liked. How pretty is that? Imagine the sound there. There's the big one. Some cool indigenous art here. Isn't that neat? Big splashy waterfalls. This looks so fun to play in as long as the current isn't too much, right? Cool canyons here. How fun is that? Some amazing hikes around here that seems like all these people are enjoying taking advantage of the gorgeous landscape. Look at this. It's like a staircase with water flowing down it. How beautiful. Must be so loud. Gorgeous. All right, scary cave time. Let's go. So these caves are terrifying. Ugh. It's unsettling to me. I don't know. Does this creep you guys out? I guess to like spelunkers and speleologists, this is fascinating. Look how narrow. Ooh. To me, it's like I'm not a claustrophobic person, but when I think about being under the earth, I get a little bit of heebie-jeebies. Look at this. That is an amazing texture in that rock. That must be ancient, 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 ancient. Look, you can explore the caves and see all of these terrifying rooms within the cave system. And yeah, there's 3 scary caves here. Mysterious rock. It's like you could crawl through it. And more waterfalls, of course. Medicinal plants here too. How great is that? And the beautiful foliage. Gosh, it's so thick. Is this? That's the waterfall we saw. Cave. We'll look at one more. Although there's... Actually, I think this one is more famous. Ugh. I don't know. It gives me like backrooms energy. I don't know. To me, at least, it feels very like unsettling. Almost like there's like an old power there. You know what I mean? Like ancient things once roamed in that area, and the energy of it probably still does. I don't know. Is that just me? I'm really in tune to things like that. And I'm picking it up through these pictures. They're not. They're having a great... Well, I assume they're having a great time. They all look really bored, except this guy looks kind of amused. But yeah. 3 scary caves there. Here is the beautiful Conger National Park. Conger Valley National Park. We saw those waterfalls. I guess we saw a lot of these pictures. Pretty butterfly too. There's one up here too. Look how thick the forest is here. And more gorgeous waterfalls and terrifying caves. Look at this photo. This doesn't look real. That's stunning. That's stunning. That's stunning. What a beautiful little corner of India here in the Bastar area. We can look at this park too. I think actually I'm going to end it in this slideshow. There are lots of other neat little corners around here to look at, but I'm going to leave that to you guys to explore. I just showed you my highlights. Let's end it in this national park. Look at the little friends. How cute are these little deer? But thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this style of content, please consider subscribing. Look at at all the people up there. I bet they don't let you jump off. Ooh, I bet that's... I can never... Ooh, big scary snake too. And beautiful cats. Wow. Anyway. Next, we're going to hop over that way to Thailand and look at even more. If you can believe it, this area of Thailand we're going to has even more national parks. Beautiful, beautiful scenery and waterfalls and such. And wild animals, including an elephant reserve, which we will actually see the elephants in that reserve. Oh, there's a tiger. So we did get to see a tiger. Excellent. But we'll also get to see the highest point in Thailand. And the beautiful temple that's up there. It looks AI. It doesn't look real. It's stunning. You gotta see it. Be sure to subscribe so you won't miss out. Be sure to give this video a thumbs up and let me know all your thoughts down below in the comments. This big buffalo here definitely wants to hear your opinions on my video. I hope that you found this video to be relaxing and educational. It's like Splash Mountain there. And I hope that you have a good